Imagine this. Deep in the rugged hills east of Napa, hidden among twisting oaks and eucalyptus, stand the crumbling stone ruins of what was once California's most glamorous mineral water paradise. Towering walls that look like a medieval castle, echoes of laughter from San Francisco's elite, and the constant, mysterious fizz of natural springs bubbling up from the earth. This is the tale of Jackson's Napa Soda Springs, a story of wild ambition, breathtaking success, devastating fires, heartbreaking loss, and a haunting legacy that refuses to die. Long before any hotel stood here, the land had its secrets, and for centuries the Wapo people knew that these hills held magic. Not one, but 27 different mineral springs, bubbling with naturally carbonated water, said to heal the body and refresh the soul. In 1853, American settlers discovered what the Wapo had long cherished. By 1856, a small hotel rose on the spot, built by Amos Buckman. But fate struck fast. The building burned to the ground almost as quickly as it appeared. It was a warning sign of the fiery destiny that would haunt this place for over a century. Then, in the early 1870s, a larger-than-life character stepped onto the stage. Colonel John Putnam Jackson, railroad president, lawyer, bold entrepreneur, and man with a vision as big as California itself. Encouraged by his father-in-law, Jackson visited the springs around 1870. Legend says he was so enchanted that he bought the entire 1,000-acre property on the very same day. Some accounts say up to $120,000 after legal wrangling with previous owner, Dr. J. Henry Wood. Jackson saw gold in those fizzy waters. He poured his fortune and energy into transforming the remote canyon into a world-class health resort. By 1874, the doors opened to guests. Massive native stone buildings began rising from the hillsides, quarried right on the property. A grand rotunda, elegant bathhouses, and luxurious accommodations took shape. The naturally carbonated Jackson's Napa Soda was bottled on site and shipped across the West. In 1879 alone, tens of thousands of bottles quenched the thirst of San Francisco saloons and elite tables. Newspapers called it one of the most delightful resorts in the Western Hemisphere. San Francisco's wealthy flocked here by carriage and later by rail, soaking in the mineral baths, strolling the grounds, and toasting with the sparkling water that had promised health and vitality. Colonel Jackson even built his own grand residence, Bellevue, overlooking it all. At its peak in the 1880s, this was Napa's glittering escape, long before the wine industry took over. But every roller coaster has its plunge. In 1913, fire ripped through the resort, damaging several buildings. The colonel had already passed away suddenly on September 26, 1900, leaving the property to his wife. Without his driving force, the slow decline began. World War I changed travel habits. Then came Prohibition, which crushed the social scene that once revolved around fine beverages. The resort closed its doors to overnight guests. The bottling of Jackson's Napa soda continued for a while, even through World War II, but the glory days were fading. Then, in 1944, another devastating fire tore through the property, heavily damaging the iconic rotunda and finally shutting down the bottling line. Decades later, in the early 1960s, suspected arson reduced more of the once majestic stone structures to haunting skeletons. Wildfires in 2017 and again in 2022 scorched the land once more, blackening the ruins and adding new layers of ash to the story. What was left looked like a ghost of a forgotten castle, beautiful, eerie, and forbidden to most visitors because the land remained private. Today, those stone walls still stand defiant against time and flame. Shards of old Jackson's Napa soda bottles occasionally wash down the creek after storms. The springs still bubble. The air still carries a faint mineral tang. Locals whisper about the haunting of Soda Springs, as if the colonel's ambitious spirit still walks the grounds. For years, the ruins sat in quiet decay, a mysterious landmark that begged the question, what happened to this place? Why did such a promising paradise fall so hard? From Wapo healing springs to Victorian glamour, from roaring fires and sudden death to ghostly ruins, and now, perhaps, a luxurious revival. The story of Jackson Soda Springs is one of true vision, triumph, tragedy, and the stubborn hope that some places are simply too magical to stay forgotten. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next Forgotten Trail.